All right. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Interviews with Entrepreneurs. I'm Angela Kiesenbing with Angela Grace Events, where every day is a reason to celebrate. And I'm so excited because I'm here with a friend that I met on social media, Meet Friend San Diego, to be more exact, Salia Phan. And I'm so excited to talk to her because she's very much similar to me in the fact that we both are very multi-passionate. And today we're just going to talk about her business and how she's going through these challenging times and making sure that she takes time for herself and her community and growing her business even during this season of our lives. So I'm going to go ahead and say hi. Everyone say hello to Celia and
Hi.
thank you so much for being here. Please tell us a little bit more about yourself and your business and how it all happened and got started.
Okay, I'd love to. So, hi everybody. My name is Salia. As Angela said, a lot of people know me by Meet Friend San Diego, and I started that back in October. And I started that because for me personally, I was super lonely. I had no friends, I had no community, I had no network for a really long time. And that's because when I first moved to San Diego, I worked in an industry where it was very male dominant. So I didn't really get out, meet people because I was working, going home. And then once I quit my job and I started my online business, people said that once you start a business, you have to give up your social life. And I'm like, great, I don't already have a social life. So, and I'm introverted. And I'm like, okay, that's perfect. Like, I can just put my head down and start working. The only problem with that is that as people, as humans, we're social creatures. And so when you're not getting that everyday conversation, you start to get really lonely, which is where I found myself within a year. And I was super depressed, honestly. I was depressed. I didn't have anybody. And so I decided, like, I need to make a change. And so I knew that there are events, I knew that there are resources out there. I just had to physically go. And that can sometimes be a little bit tougher for introverts or for people that just aren't used to going out. And so from there, I'm very organized. So I put all the events that I knew of in a Google Calendar. And so that way I could keep track of them, see what days I was available to go. And then I thought, I wonder if anybody else would use this too, because I know that I'm not the only person that deals with loneliness or
Right.
has a hard time meeting people. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to put this out on Instagram and see what happens. And from there, I committed to going to an event every week, which
That's
is
awesome.
a lot.
Yes.
But I have met some incredible people, and now I think I'm more of an extrovert since I've been going to so many events that it's crazy that what you think you are originally when you're depressed or when you're dealing with like a dark time in your life, when you go out and you're serving others and you're helping others, it kind of brings out the best in you. And so that's kind of
Yeah,
how Meet Friends started for me.
that's awesome. I 100% agree with that. It's very similar to how we're going through this season right now with quarantine and how people are just really, like you said, we were talking earlier before we started, how people are learning about themselves
Mhm.
just as much as they're learning about anything else. But really, I feel more importantly, we're like everyone's looking within, which it gives us
Yeah.
a really good time to do that. And for me, it's funny because I'm kind of the opposite. I have always been the extrovert in my marriage, and my husband is now working from home, and he came up to me and he was like, "I got to go to work," and I'm like, "What?" And that's not normal, like physically be at work. And I get it, he wants to compartmentalize things, but for me, I was like, I'm
Mhm.
fine staying home. And normally I would be itching to get out of the house. I need to go to this event. I want to get out.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how we change or we adapt when we're in different situations. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, definitely. I would say that the quarantine is definitely giving me flashbacks to the times that I wasn't going out, but this time I love that I have the Meet Friends community where I can still talk to people, or I can reach out to people, or I even have people to talk to now, which I didn't have before.
Right. No, it's important. It's definitely important to have a community that supports you and that you can go to, ask questions, and just being social, like you said. And we had talked about earlier about I was saying like how you've been so sweet and reaching out and connecting, and that's how we met, with you reaching out and saying, hey, do you have any events that I can share on the Instagram page and on the calendar? And that's kind of how we met. I think you reached out to me
Yeah.
and I said, yes, I do. I have this awesome, I think it was the workshop event planning boot camp at the time, and
Yeah.
it was so nice to have somebody just call me or message me. And ever since then, we were just messaging on Instagram. Um, what is it called?
DMs.
DMs, yeah.
Yeah.
And we would message each other back and forth. This is the first time we actually have a conversation, so it's awesome. And I'm glad that we're able to do that. So it's all about supporting each other, like you had mentioned earlier too. And you had also mentioned about showing up. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Like showing up. You said showing up shows a lot about one's character. Can you
Yeah,
get
definitely.
on that a little bit?
So, um, whenever people are in a hard place, they need support, and you have to lift somebody up. And I feel like when you lift others up, you get lifted up too. And by that, you have to show up. So you cannot, and I say this from personal experience, I've had people, like, I thought that they were going to be my best friend, and I would tell them, like, hey, like, I don't have any friends here in San Diego. Like, will you be my best friend, or will you be a friend to me? And some of the people said, like, oh, yeah, like, I understand. And they would never show up. And it was heartbreaking because what I needed at that time was just a friend. And I didn't have anybody show up for me. And so I said, when I started Meet Friends, or I did my business, that I would never want somebody to feel left out, or just feel like they were put on the back burner because of I'm just brushing them off. That's something that I would never do, because I know what it feels like to be on the receiving end. And so that's why I think it's so
Right.
important to show up for others, keep the conversation going, like, never cease talking to somebody, because you never know what they may be going through too. And when
Yeah.
you're there for others, then you can help them out in a small way or in a huge way that you just don't even know.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I'm just like so excited that we were talking about this because it is so important. I mean, having a community again, like we said, it's just so important. And you had mentioned something earlier too about, when you come from a place of giving and serving others, it just
Mhm.
it's not just about feeling good, but it's like you're able to you're able to give what you know that you have, right? And they say that you
Yeah,
can't give what you don't have. And so if you're able to pour out into others, that comes back to you. And it's just so it's special, right? And you don't know
yeah,
how it's going to come
definitely.
back to you, but you just keep putting out putting yourself out there. I think at the same time also filling your cup too.
Yeah, definitely. You can't fill someone else's cup if your cup is empty. So I do
Exactly.
think that it is important to do self reflections, to know who you are as a person, to recognize your purpose and see what you can do to align with that. And I would say for a good majority of people, their purpose aligns with helping somebody in some way or another.
Right.
And I think that when you find yourself and you know what your purpose is, and you know what your gift is, then fill that cup up and make sure that when you're talking to people, that you're filling them up, you're encouraging them, you're loving them, you're being genuine to them without any ulterior motive.
Right. I agree completely with that. Um, and so you have Meet Friend San Diego, but you also have another business, right? Eden's
Yeah.
Design. Do you
Yes.
want to tell me a little bit more about that?
So, Eden's Design is a virtual interior decorating company that focuses on non toxic and sustainable living. So beyond having connecting the community as my passion, my number one passion is non-toxic living and sustainability. And I feel like there's a huge hole in the market for sustainable and non-toxic living for your home decor. And especially in San Diego, we're very, very health and wellness focused. And I feel like when it comes to your home and what you decorate with, all that knowledge and all those values that you have about what you put on your skin or what you put on your body, it all goes out the window. We shop for what's pretty or what's on sale, and those are great, but in those you also compromise like how those materials affect the environment, how it can ruin your indoor air quality, how it can risk your kids' health even. And so there's a lot of health aspects that do go with interior decorating. And so in the past, I've worked with doing product research for clean beauty. And with that, I got a lot of knowledge about how ingredients affect our bodies and how it also affects the environment. And so I wanted to take all the knowledge that I had from that and tie it into my passion of interior decorating and helping others recognize that you can heal your body by getting rid of all those toxins that you're decorating with,
Yeah.
while also still maintaining a sustainable planet and supporting companies that want to help the planet and heal the planet.
Yeah, no, I like that because I feel even more so now, it's become more the norm, right? Because people are becoming more aware, like, oh, this really, truly is not good for me.
Yeah,
I mean, it's,
definitely.
yeah, at least we're getting there, right? And so it sounds
Mhm.
like you're ahead of the curve. You've done the research and um, what things are good and what things aren't. And I think it's just like, for me, I was like, okay, we just have to start small, especially for somebody who might be overwhelmed, like, oh my gosh, this is bad. My shampoo is bad. Everything's,
Yeah.
there's always something. But I like that you have incorporated that into your business. So um having that said, like, you're doing both. You've got the Meet Friend San Diego and Eden's Design, and
Mhm.
then quarantine comes along. How has that affected you, either personally and or for your business or businesses?
Yeah, definitely. I would say for me, it just put me on pause for a little bit. I feel like as 2020 hit, everybody hit the ground running. They're like, all right, this is going to be my year, my decade. I'm going to max it out, basically. And I saw a lot of people getting burnout so quick. There was a running joke that everybody said January was the longest year ever. And just because so many people were trying to do so much in a short amount of time,
Right.
and I feel um, like I was one of those people. I was going to a lot of events. I was spending a lot of time on Meet Friends. I was doing a lot of design sessions and things like that. And I didn't really take the time to pour into myself. And I think that that was what was really missing. And so once the quarantine hit, I'm like, okay, I can finally breathe. I can
Yeah.
finally hit the pause for a little bit. I was telling you earlier how I used to spend 15 to 20 hours on Meet Friends, and it's something I do to serve the community, but it was getting to a point where it was emptying my cup and my cup was already low.
Right.
And so it started to get hard to maintain Meet Friends San Diego, going to events weekly, to pour into people for that I meet at the events, and maintain my business, and show up for social media, show up for other people. And
Right.
so for
Yeah.
this, I've learned how to kind of reprioritize what's important. I think now it's more of your relationships that you have. So relationships for me are super, super important. There was a time where I didn't have any local friends. And so now I'm really, really pouring into my friendships that I have, or just my community in general, is letting them know, like, I'm here for you. I love you. I'm thinking and praying for you.
Yeah.
But also, like, refocusing on my businessing what things do I want to focus on in my business that I've been wanting to do for so long? I just haven't had the time. And so now I'm able to pour into that. And whenever quarantine's done, I'm able to have that ready. So that way when we are released back out, that I'm able to show up for others with my cup full and I can pour into others with a full cup.
Yeah, that is great advice. I think you're right. A lot of people came in trying to hit the ground running. And like for me, I was like, I felt a little like down because I came into the year sick. And then I was like, I really didn't, do my usual planning and vision boarding and all this stuff. And then I was like, you know what? I can't, I got to give myself some grace and be like, I'm taking care of myself, taking care of my family. And then I just kind of went with like, okay, I'm going with the flow. And then I just kept hearing this message of taking action, like one step ahead of one step in front of the other. And then with
Mhm.
each action that you take, then you'll know where to go next. It's like but if you just sit there and don't do anything, it's like, you're not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
But it's so true. Like it's like a blessing in disguise, and I completely agree with that because there are so many things that we either put on the back burner or we were just putting ourselves on the back burner, and then now it's like, okay,
Mhm.
well, kind of forced a little bit to do take
Yeah,
care of ourselves. um,
definitely.
yeah, take care of our businesses and just really prioritize. I feel like that is the big thing. Like, how are you prioritizing like, things for your business and personally?
I would say for myself personally, I am really taking my mornings for myself. And I'm not the person that has the perfect morning routine, but as long as I get my readings and my journaling done first thing in the morning, then I'm good for the rest of the day. And there were times where I would literally wake up and go straight to work. And now I'm taking the time and forcing myself to really set my mind properly and myself to make sure I have some mental clarity to prepare me for the day. And that makes a huge difference for how I feel throughout the day and also how I can respond to situations that happen. And so that one is a huge one for me that I recommend everybody try. Um, for my business, I try to look at each of my businesses and see which one it needs to be focused on. So for that, I put Meet Friends San Diego a little bit more on the back burner just because obviously there aren't events. And I now have so much spare time that I was once using for Meet Friends San Diego, and I can now pour that time into other things that I'm passionate about. And so that's definitely like working on my Eden's design company and filling in some things that had holes in it and elevating it more, but also working on launching a blog soon, which I've been wanting to do for years. It just, I never got around to it. Something always came up. And
And
once
now's
I
the
saw
perfect
how
time.
much time exactly. Once I saw how much time I was putting into Meet Friends, and then now I don't have to put that much time, I see how much time I can now put into building my blog and getting that prepared. So for the launch date, which I have coming up, and really making sure it can help serve people in the best way possible. I think I have a massive to-do list, but I categorize each thing. So I know exactly what needs to be done, and it's kind of like my brain dump. So that way I don't have to have mental capacity to remember all the million things that I have to do.
Right. That's awesome. Like prioritizing and then just making sure that we stay organized. And
Mhm.
I love that because I feel like it puts things into perspective. You were spending a lot of time in one side of one business, but then you're realizing like, oh, I need to nurture this business because this is where I'm
Yeah.
passionate about. Not that you're not passionate about the other one, but I feel like there's a season for everything.
Yeah,
And right now,
definitely.
yeah. Um, right. And I feel like you've done everything that you could for Meet Friend San Diego at this point, right? And so
Mhm.
now moving forward, it's I feel like it this whole situation puts things into perspective for a lot of us. Um, and then there's there's something else that you'd mentioned. I can't remember. Um, so with the lessons that you've learned, is there anything that you can share with people watching? Like, what are some of the lessons that you've learned kind of going through this, um, learning how to prioritize and figuring things out, learning more about yourself? Um, what are some of those lessons that have come your way?
Yeah, definitely. I would say being patient with myself is and was and still working on the biggest lesson for me. I think for me, I'm a perfectionist. I want everything done to the maximum capacity. So I want it to be done efficiently, effectively, and perfectly, basically. And that's just not achievable because we are human, we are people, and things take time. And I think just being patient with myself, whether it's, not having X amount of time to work out every day, like I had scheduled in my planner, but instead it's giving myself grace and saying, okay, like
Yeah,
at least I did 5 minutes today. Or understanding, like, okay, even if I didn't exercise today, I ate healthy today.
right.
And so understanding, like, whatever we're feeling during this time is okay and it is validated. And whatever time that you put into yourself is going to improve. So when you're giving yourself patience, know that it's going to get easier over time. And when you show that patience to yourself, you also show it to others, that you're not so irritable all the time, or you're you're not so pushy with like deadlines and things like that, but instead, like, if you can show yourself patience, you can show that to others too.
That is so true, and that like just kind of hit me hard because it's true. Like you definitely need to give yourself patience. And I have two kids, and so like I have been losing my patience a little bit more than usual. Um, and because we're all home and um, so this week I've been a lot more intentional about taking breaks and just letting them know when they can you know, talk to me or when I can help them and stuff like that. But definitely having that patience for yourself and where you are, um, and giving
Yeah.
yourself grace. Oh my goodness, all of my alarms are going off right now. um, so giving yourself patience, giving yourself grace, filling your cup, those are all great things. And I hope that all of you who are watching are doing that for yourself because it's so important. Um, and I remember what we were talking about, or what you had mentioned earlier, where you said mental capacity, really keeping mentally sane and overloading yourself
Yeah.
is so important. I was just telling you before that I'd signed up for all the free things, and I was like, wait a minute. Like, I signed in maybe to one or two, and I was like, that's just way too much. Like, we just need to step back and give ourselves our own expectations and be realistic.
Yeah, definitely. With like mental capacity, I always joke like my brain is like a computer, it can only hold so much RAM.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
so, especially like when you have a lot on your plate, as I'm sure most of us do, especially during quarantine, um, you yourself can only handle so much. So like you were saying, for signing up for all the free things, and how everybody's talking about start learning, start diving into this or that or this, but like what you said earlier, like shutting off the noise and just focusing on yourself and seeing what you need as a person, instead of trying to fill up on all new information that you just don't have the brain capacity to handle right now.
Right. Yeah, the noise can become so just overwhelming. And I will say that I am completing
Hey, Angela, it cut off on your sound.
Uh, I was holding the space bar button down. Okay, tech issues.
Okay,
Um,
there you go. I can hear you now.
so I'll start over again really quick. But basically, there's one challenge that I committed to doing. It was all about mindset because I feel like for me that was like the thing that I needed to get right before I kept moving forward in this quarantine. And one of the reasons why, the other reason, it was because the person who was hosting it was or is a fellow entrepreneur, a friend, a mom, and I probably wouldn't have done it if she didn't reach out. Like, I missed the little window of 5 days, but she extended it and I didn't know, but she messaged me on Facebook, she text messaged me, and then we had a phone call conversation. And I was like, oh, talk about coming full circle. This is what you do. We were talking about this earlier also, like where it's building those relationships and really getting connected to people and your community one-on-one, not just blasting information out there because I don't want to add to the noise, right? You want to be able to ask
Yeah.
people specifically, what is it that you need and how can I help you? Um, so I love that. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and so as you know, we talked about some of the lessons and how your businesses are affected during this time. How do you see yourself and your businesses coming out of quarantine, or in the quarter 4 of like 2020, when hopefully we're out of this? Like, how do you see yourself evolving and thriving, and like, are there any um, things that you feel like you need to change or adapt to because of this?
I see myself just showing up in a new way. I think that when you get into a rhythm, especially one that you've been doing for so long, you get kind of stuck in that rhythm where you get stuck with how you do things or how you operate. And so coming out of this, I am going to kind of shift that to cater more towards the environment because that is a huge thing for me. And I don't always put that forward with when I talk to people. And it's such a huge part of my life that I do want to focus on that more, especially with all the statistics that we've been seeing that during quarantine, the environment has been healing at an incredible rate where people in downtown LA can now see the mountains where there was always fog, or there's wildlife coming back to places that they've been vacant for so long. And so kind of like recognizing that and pointing it out to people that don't fully recognize or understand it and explaining why. And also educating people. I want to, now that I've heard people talk to me, I want to provide something for them. Not only do I want to help them, but I want to help educate them in any way that I can. And for me, I want to use the time that I do talk to people to help educate more about sustainability and non toxic living. And, if there is a health issue that you deal with, maybe there's something in your everyday life that it stems from. And so I think that's something that I'm more opt to shift my focus on, especially coming out of this.
That's awesome, and that's so beautiful that you share that, because like our environment healing, that's a big plus. That's a big blessing in disguise, that
Yeah.
people can actually see the mountains over the without the fog, not the fog, but the smog, right?
Mhm.
And just like you said, wildlife coming out where they're supposed to be because they're not afraid that there's something going to run them over. um, and I feel that's one of the things I miss going out in nature and hiking, and
Mhm.
but I love the fact that our just to know and be aware that our earth is healing because we're staying home. And like I see this meme coming around, and it's like our great grandparents and grandparents had to like fight in wars, and all we have to do is stay home.
Yeah.
Really, let's stay home and let this all flatten the curve and all that stuff, and make sure we're all healthy. And but yeah, no, I appreciate that. Thank you so much again for being here. And is there anything else that you would like to share?
Um, I would say just be kind to one another. Definitely, like I said earlier, keep the conversation going. Don't ghost on people now that I know there's a lot going on, and I know that a lot of people have their plates full, but check up on people if you can. If somebody crosses your mind, send them a text, say, "Hey, I'm thinking about you." Very simple. I would say, yeah, just be kind and genuine and show each other love and compassion and always, just try your best and take it one day at a time.
Yes, one day at a time for sure. And I think earlier you said focus on one project at a time too, not many, not too many.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so you guys heard it here. Be kind, everyone, and give yourself grace, fill your cup, and connect with others. Be social. We're physical distancing, not social distancing. We're having a good conversation here. We've not met in person. And I actually texted a friend, one of my old business partners, actually, she's in Texas. And I was just like, hey, I'm thinking about you. And I just picked up the phone because it's so easy. And
Mhm.
she was like, oh, that's so sweet. It means so much to me. So, like, it really does help when you just send out a message to let other people know that you're thinking about them, especially during this time. And I hope that's one thing that we can all keep even moving forward. So,
Mhm.
Salia, where can everyone find you? We'll put all the information below, but let us know where we can find you.
Alrighty, you can find me on multiple things. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at meetfriends.sd, on Instagram at celia.edenslove, and my design company at design.edenslove.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much again, Salia, for being here. And if you guys are watching, please let us know how you guys are doing. And remember to make every day a reason to celebrate. All right, we'll talk to you guys later.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thank
Bye.
you.